I've been sort of darkly hinting that the left has supported Hamas through this. As I say, not a single Democratic presidential candidate has even commented on this. Can you imagine if England were under attack, the UK were under attack by a terrorist group, by al-Qaeda, firing 700 rockets into the heart of London? Do you think that any of those Democratic presidential candidates would be silent? There's something different about the Jews. There's something different about this conflict. And the attempt to portray an attack on Jewish civilians by a terrorist group that calls for the wiping out of Jews all over the planet as anything but anti-Semitism demonstrates how leftist anti-Semitism makes common cause with radical Islamist anti-Semitism. And again, I don't want to hear your crocodile tears about Jews getting shot in synagogues by white supremacists when you don't give a damn if Jews get shot in synagogues by Muslim terrorists. Don't care. Don't want to hear from you. You have no moral legitimacy. None. If you cannot condemn what is going on right now, if you can't condemn Hamas or Islamic Jihad, then you got nothing. It's amazing. It's amazing to me that people on the left or even in the Muslim community would have any trouble condemning this stuff at all. It's incredible to me. I remember a few years back, I was on Fox News, and they had on somebody, I believe from CARE, from the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trial. The Holy Land Foundation was basically a front group for Hamas, raising money for Hamas and Hezbollah, among other terrorist groups, allegedly. And the spokesperson for CARE was sitting there. I said, why can't you condemn Hamas? Why don't you just condemn Hamas? And the guy said, well, will you condemn the KKK? I said, of course I'll condemn the KKK. They're garbage and they're evil. Why wouldn't I condemn the KKK? This is not difficult. Like, I'm happy to condemn anybody who's evil. But there is a whole group of people who won't. And those people include people like Linda Sarsour, who you will recall introduced Senator Kirsten Gillibrand at a rally, is a well-respected member of the hardcore left, ahead of the Women's March, a friend to Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, those morally despicable freshman leaders in the House. Linda Sarsour wrote, I am trained in Kingian nonviolence, which is hilarious since she has campaigned with Razmia Oda, a convicted terrorist. She says, I choose nonviolence as a powerful means to change, but I don't have to choose or justify violence to understand where it comes from. When oppressed people see no way out, we have to be critical thinkers, advocate, and present solutions. Okay, that would be her making excuses for Hamas terrorists, because Linda Sarsour doesn't care about terrorism so long as it is directed at Jews. She does not care about it. She is an anti-Semite. Rashida Tlaib, another anti-Semite. So Rashida Tlaib tweets out, when will the world stop dehumanizing our Palestinian people who just want to be free? I was unaware that wanting to be free allows you to fire rockets at civilians on the other side of a border. Didn't realize that. Also, if you want to be free, maybe you should get rid of the Hamas regime that is oppressing its own people and spending tens of millions of dollars on weaponry to fight Israelis across the border when they have complete domestic control inside the Gaza Strip. I will make one other note here. Rashida Tlaib is somebody who has suggested that Jews have dual loyalty when it comes to Israel. What is this our Palestinian people business? Now, I don't have a problem with her using that phrase. She's Palestinian. I don't have a problem with that. But if you're going to accuse other people of dual loyalty, lady, you might want to take a look in the mirror if that's the kind of phraseology that you're happy using. She has headlines like this, and framing it in this way just feeds into the continued lack of responsibility on Israel, who unjustly oppress and target Palestinian children and families. Israel unjustly targets Palestinian children and families? This is happening in the middle of a Hamas firestorm directed at kindergartens, directed at ambulances, directed at families and homes. And she is saying, oh yeah, this is Israel's fault. She is a terrorist apologist, Rashida Tlaib. And she's a damned anti-Semite as well. It is incredible that she's able to get away with this, and not only get away with this, that the Democratic Party will continue to ignore it. These are the same idiots and moral reprobates who wouldn't even pass an anti-Semitism resolution naming Ilhan Omar. They had to broaden it out to include all forms of hate. Why? Because they understand that if they condemn anti-Semitism, they are condemning the members of their own party. And it's not just Rashida Tlaib, it's Ilhan Omar, who herself, when I say she's a terrorist apologist, I mean she actively wrote a letter to a judge in 2016 asking that ISIS recruits be given a lighter sentence because they were marginalized communities in the United States. I'm talking about a lady who in 2013, in an interview, laughed at the idea that al-Qaeda and Hezbollah were scary and bad. So here's what she tweeted out in the middle of all of this. How many more protesters must be shot? Rockets must be fired, and little kids must be killed until this endless cycle of violence ends. Okay, the people who were shot by the Israelis were not protesters. They are there embedded among protesters and firing at Israeli soldiers. 2 Israeli soldiers were severely wounded, and Israel fired back on people who were shooting at them. How many more rockets must be fired? The only people firing rockets right now are the Hamas jihadists who are trying to murder Jews in their beds. How many little kids must be killed? I don't know. Why don't you ask the Fogel family, a family living in Israel who were slaughtered in their beds by terrorists, and those terrorists were then their families were rewarded by the Palestinian Authority, and streets were named after the terrorists who murdered, I kid you not, toddlers in their beds. The Fogel family, look it up.